Residents of western New York struggled to dig out from under 4 feet of snow on Tuesday, left over from a fierce Christmas blizzard that resulted in more than 24 deaths in Erie County. New York State's second largest city of Buffalo was ground zero for what the governor has called an epic, once-in-a-lifetime weather disaster. And the region is not yet in the clear.
Please, you heard the mayor beg, I'm begging, stay home.
Erie County's chief executive, Mark Poloncarz, on Tuesday said the roads are treacherous and the driving ban was still in effect for the city of Buffalo. Some motorists ignored the ban, but personnel are on the way to help enforce it and help clear the roads of snow.
So I have been advised 100 military police are coming in from the National Guard, as well as additional New York State police from other parts of New York, and that the New Jersey State Police are coming into New York to offset the New York State Police that are being moved in here. Because people just are ignoring the driving ban. It is a 2-day operation to create one open lane for every street in the city of Buffalo to fully restore emergency response.
Many roadways remained littered with cars, buses, ambulances, tow trucks, and even plows buried beneath towering drifts. Authorities deployed high-lift tractors as hospital transports, but that comes with its own set of risks.
People are walking right around these giant dump trucks and these giant high lifts. And I know you got to get to the grocery store. I understand that. But be careful when you're out there. Be very careful when you're out there if you're walking along the roads where this emergency equipment is, because they may not be able to see you.
U.S. President Joe Biden issued a federal emergency declaration for the state of New York on Monday night, authorizing government assistance to bolster recovery efforts. Though Tuesday remained cold in Erie County, with a high of just 28 degrees, Poloncarz said warmer weather is on the way.
We expect rain and 50-degree temperatures over 2 days, so we're going to have potentially a rapid melt.
Flooding would bring a whole new set of challenges to the area, still grappling with the winter storm's wrath.
Protests in Peru following the ouster of former President Pedro Castillo have left 22 people dead, the youngest just 15. And anger is simmering despite a lull in violence over the holidays in the heavily Catholic country. Edgar Prado, a mechanic and driver from southern Peru, was one of 10 people killed in the city of Ayacucho in the most bloody violence that has roiled Peru in recent weeks. Edgar's sister, Edith Prado, said he was not involved in the protests.
He was basically murdered by the military. For us, this was a cruel attack on my brother.
Edith said Edgar left the house he shares with her after gunfire hit their gate on December 15th, and he saw protesters being hurt. Just before 6 p.m., security camera footage shows a group of protesters and others standing in the street where a person lies on the sidewalk. Edgar is seen checking on the person while others run off. A minute later, Edgar is shot and collapses. He died the next morning. The military said they had come under attack and responded with force. The clashes began with the December 7th ouster of former President Pedro Castillo after he tried to illegally dissolve Congress to avoid an impeachment vote he feared losing. Parliament voted him out of office and he was arrested for alleged rebellion. Castillo denies the charges. His arrest triggered an outpouring of anger at the country's political elite and Congress, widely reviled as corrupt and self-serving, especially in Peru's poor southern regions. New President Dina Boluarte tried to stem the protests, and the government declared a nationwide state of emergency December 14th, curtailing some civic rights and allowing the armed forces to support the police. 19-year-old Jonathan Alarcón died after he was shot in the hip during the protests, according to his aunt and data from Peru's ombudsman. In an act of protest, his family on December 22nd took his coffin to the plaza where he was shot, a red banner commemorating the victims of what it called a massacre. Jonathan's aunt, Luzmila Alarcón.
The military is supposed to defend the territory or maybe confront another army in the jungle,
but not to go out into the city where there are children and elderly and shoot the way they did.
The United Nations has called for investigations into child casualties in the protests. The Inter-American Commission on Human Rights has condemned violence by both security forces and protesters and called for a dialogue.
Kosovo's government is accusing its neighbor Serbia of trying to destabilize the country as it grapples with weeks of protests and violence, and says Serbia is doing so under the influence of Russia. Kosovo has a small ethnic Serb minority. Some members have been blockading roads there since December 10th and exchanged gunfire with police. Late on Monday night, Serbia, which is allied to Russia, also announced that it was putting its army on its highest level of alert, saying that it fears Kosovo authorities are preparing to attack the ethnic Serbs. Serbia's defense minister is seen here meeting troops stationed near their border. His government denies Kosovo's claims and says it wants to protect the minority. Kosovo won its independence from Serbia in 2008 after the war in the late 1990s. NATO now has over 3,700 peacekeepers in Kosovo and has said it will intervene if stability in the country is jeopardized.
U.S. stocks closed mostly lower at the beginning of a holiday-shortened week on Tuesday, with growth stocks dragging the tech-laden Nasdaq down the most. The Dow closed up fractionally, while the S&P lost 0.4% and the Nasdaq shed nearly 1.4%. Tesla fell a whopping 11.4% after a Reuters review of an internal schedule revealed that the electric vehicle maker plans to scale back production at its Shanghai plant. With Tuesday's move, Tesla stock has lost nearly 70% of its value this year. David Bahnsen is Chief Investment Officer at the Bahnsen Group.
I think the biggest thing, though, that has to be said about Tesla can be said about so many of the big cap darlings that have gotten hammered this year, is you just have to remember how up they were before. Tesla was up 900% from its recent low before the big rally. And so now it's given an awful lot of that back. And a lot of that sell-off is related to the fact that it had just gone up way too much. I would never want to bet against Elon Musk, against Tesla, but there's so many unknown variables that will go into what happens from here.
In addition to production issues, those variables include related price cuts, potential softening demand, and fears that Musk may be too distracted by his recent purchase of Twitter. In other individual movers, U.S.-listed shares of Chinese firms including JD.com, Alibaba, and Pinduoduo jumped between 1.4% and 4.9% after Beijing announced it was relaxing COVID-related travel restrictions. And Southwest Airlines tumbled after harsh weather forced the discount commercial carrier to lead its peers in cancellations. With just 3 trading days remaining in 2022, all 3 indexes are on course to post their biggest annual loss since 2008, the nadir of the global financial crisis. For much of the past 2 years, Tesla buyers who waited months for delivery of their new cars had 2 enticing options: keep the coveted electric vehicle or sell it at an even higher price to a buyer with less patience. But the days of the profit-taking Tesla flip may be numbered. That's because prices of used Teslas are falling fast, even faster than those of other car makers. The average price for a used Tesla in November was almost $56,000, down from a July peak of more than $67,000. That's a 17% drop, while the overall used car market posted a 4% drop during that same period, according to data from Edmunds. Over the past 2 years, rising gasoline prices helped boost demand for Teslas. The company itself raised prices faster than other brands in order to build its profit margins. But now fuel prices are easing, interest rates are rising, Tesla's output is increasing, and EV competition is growing, causing used Tesla prices to fall faster than the market as demand languishes. Some analysts say CEO Elon Musk's so-called Twitter distraction is also alienating potential buyers, as prices of new Teslas have also taken a hit. The company last week offered a $7,500 rebate on both its Model Y and Model 3, doubling its previous discount on each. Tesla shares have plummeted from almost $400 at the start of 2022 down to about $113 on Tuesday. Last week, Musk said that the, quote, radical interest rate changes have increased the prices of all cars, new and used, and that Tesla potentially could lower pricing to sustain volume growth, which would result in lower profit. Tesla, which has disbanded its media relations department, did not respond to Reuters' emailed questions.